In regard to Vladimir Putin, I was sent a chart by a channel viewer with a date that is 2 years before the chart that is mostly out there, the 1952 date. This one is for a fall date in 1950. If you draw that chart and look at those planet positions, you get an interesting 6 or half a dozen situation, because when I look at the 52 chart, the reason I said he is likely to get ensnared in a political problem as time passes is because of the Neptune transit, which would be squaring his Sagittarius Mars in the 52 chart. If you use the 1950 chart, then the problem shifts to an opposition by Neptune to Mercury and Virgo. It's pretty much the same idea. This is suggestive of things getting confused, things getting overturned, things becoming problematic and unfocused. And it's the kind of energy you do not want when you're doing the type of thing that he's done. Now, having said that, I will tell you that I think, based on the way Putin behaves and the way things have gone for him in the last few years, that the 52 chart makes the most sense. And this is because if you look at the events of 2016, when he scored a major victory through what would be considered a secret cyber attack of sorts, not completely secret, but definitely work in the background, which is typical of 12 sign energy, but especially because Jupiter was then transiting through Libra. Jupiter in his 52 chart is in the 7th of allies. Essentially, he was using Trump as an ally and scores a major victory as Jupiter is going through his sun. And then more telling even than that is that Jupiter, when it lands on that first house Venus at 11, 12 degrees Scorpio, coincides, or rather I should say, links to the transit of Jupiter through those degrees in July of 2018, which is when the Helsinki summit happened, which basically put him in the foreground in a major way. He was really in his element. You know, Trump was basically being totally obsequious and taking his side over American intelligence. Incredible that Trump did that. But this is Putin really shining. Jupiter on the ascending sign and the planet that is in the ascending sign. So now we switch to the current day, and if this is true, it's what I said in the previous video when I explained this. Transiting Jupiter right now is trining that Venus, and this is expansion, confidence, righteousness. I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to expand and do this. The problem is, it's actually a short-term, not too long-lasting aspect. By another month, 2 months, it leaves. If you want to say, well, the ascending sign, you'd wait till the summer when Jupiter reaches Aries. This reminds me a lot of what happened to George W. Bush, who, when Jupiter was in his sun sign, was preparing and cooking up the Iraq War, and then the invasion happens, and as Jupiter is crossing his ascendant, he says mission accomplished. What he doesn't see is the Saturn trailing behind. It's going to take a lot longer too. Saturn moves more slowly. It was going to cross through his sun sign and through his ascending sign next over a number of years, which made the Iraq War extremely complicated. And the Saturn period through his ascending sign even coincided with the loss of the House in 2006 to Nancy Pelosi. So Saturn is definitely a different energy than Jupiter, a lot more difficult. In Putin's case, once the Jupiter leaves, he's looking at years of quincunxes and eventually a Saturn opposition. In other words, a lot of complications. So, bottom line, don't be fooled by how things look in the short term. In astrology, you always want to look at where things are going. And where they're going for Putin is not good. Plain and simple, not good.